If you obey the Lord your God and follow his commands, the Lord will set you high above all nations of the earth. His blessings will come on you if you obey the Lord. Oh, you will be blessed in the city and blessed in the country. Your children will be blessed with your crops, land and livestock, the calves of your herds and the lambs of your flocks. You will be blessed when you come in and blessed when you go out again. The Lord will defeat for you all your enemies. The Lord will bless your barns and he'll bless everything you do. The Lord will bless you in the land that he is giving you. The Lord will establish you as his holy people if you keep his commands and walk in his ways. Then all the peoples of the earth will see that you are called by the name of the Lord, and they will fear you.
Psalm 78 verses 25 to 35. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. He caused an east wind to blow in the heaven, and by his power he brought in the south wind. He rained flesh also upon them as dust, and feathered fowls like as the sand of the sea. And he let it fall in the midst of their camp, round about their habitations. So they did eat, and were well filled, for he gave them their own desire. They were not estranged from their lust. But while their meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of God came upon them, and slew the fattest of them, and smote down the chosen men of Israel. For all this they sinned still, and believed not for his wondrous works. Therefore their days did he consume in vanity, and their years in trouble. When he slew them, then they sought him, and they returned and inquired early after God. And they remembered that God was their rock, and the high God their Redeemer.
June 22nd, Food and Lands in the Last Days. Take therefore no thought for the morrow, for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is evil thereof. Matt 6:34. The Lord has shown me in vision repeatedly that it is contrary to the Bible to make any provision for our temporal wants in a time of trouble. I saw that if the saints have food laid up by them, or in the fields, in a time of trouble when sword, famine, and pestilence are in the land, it will be taken from them by violent hands, and strangers would reap their fields. Then will be the time for us to trust wholly in God, and he will sustain us. I saw that our bread and water would be sure at that time, and we should not lack or suffer hunger. The Lord has shown me that some of his children would fear when they see the price of food rising, and they would buy food and lay it by for the time of trouble. Then in a time of need, I saw them go to their food and look at it, and it had bread worms, and was full of living creatures, and not fit for use. Houses and lands will be of no use to the saints in the time of trouble, for they will then have to flee before infuriated mobs, and at that time their possessions cannot be disposed of to advance the cause of present truth. I saw that if any held on to their property and did not inquire of the Lord as to their duty, he would not make duty known. and they would be permitted to keep their property. And in the time of trouble, it would come up before them like a mountain to crush them, and they would try to dispose of it, but would not be able. But if they desired to be taught, he would teach them, in a time of need, when to sell and how much to sell. In the last great conflict to the controversy with Satan, those who are loyal to God will see every earthly support cut off. Because they refuse to break his law in obedience to earthly powers, they will be forbidden to buy or sell. It will finally be decreed that they shall be put to death. But to the obedient is given the promise, he shall dwell on high. His place of defense shall be the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given him, his waters shall be sure. Isaiah 33, verse 16. By this promise, the children of God will live. End quote.
It is said that your bread and waters shall be sure. Every Adventist will claim this promise, but the majority will have a rude awakening. They will try every means to gain a morsel of bread, as the pangs of hunger will menace them day and night. They will resort to cannibalism in the end, just like everyone else, and betray their brethren because they have nothing to eat. In the future, there is going to be a global food crisis, and the love of many will grow cold. Angels will feed those who are truly loyal and followed the reforms that the Spirit stipulated through Ellen White while human probation in the plan of salvation was still open. During this time when the world is starving, probation is closed. Only a few short months or year or so before this, they were promised utopia by the false Christ and angels and beings from space and from the spirits of the dead. It all falls apart as there are not only serious food shortages, but natural disasters and the realities of nuclear war and devastations, especially on American soil. The Seventh-day Adventists who hold to their faith will be blamed because it will be said we offend the Lord and angels by refusing to listen to them who claim that the fourth command written on stone is changed and we need to keep the Pope's Sunday holy and not Saturday, which God himself stipulated, even stressing it by the first word saying, remember, meaning do not forget. He knew that such would take place and that one beginning word in the command should be a deterrent. Why do they still disobey? At this point, they have the mark of the beast, which means they are psychologically messed up. The angels let go the winds of strife, which means Satan has further control of minds and actions. And finally, because they choose to do wrong. All such was the choices that they made. Whether they know they were worshiping Satan or not, one thing is certain, and that is they did not honor God enough to keep his commandments and to know and do all his will. They have no love for God, and by this their allegiance defaults to that of Satan. The world will cut us off from food and housing and even freedom, but what is so funny is that not one of them will have the assurance of any of these things, whether you be the president to a homeless vagabond. God had said, go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rest of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is if you kept back by fraud, creeth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts, as in a day of slaughter. Ye have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. James 5 verses 1-6. A time of trouble is about to come such as never was, that will be so startling that no one in government, military, and regular society will be exempt. It will hit everyone hard, and there is no escape. That's a promise. The righteous would have already learned to trust God for food and water, and their faith will be unmovable. Those around us will not have that same faith and assurance. They will suffer many a hungry night. They did not prove God when the time was good for proving him, and their characters are messed up. They made the mistake that Israel made when they were in the wilderness. They saw God's handiwork, and yet they did not trust him for temporal day-by-day provisions. They argued with Moses with the words, is the Lord among us or not?
Quote from the patriarchs and prophets, from the Red Sea to Sinai. Well, Moses assured the congregation that their wants were to be supplied. The Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full. And he added, what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord. He further bade Aaron say to them, come near before the Lord, for he hath heard your murmurings. While Aaron was speaking, they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. A splendor such as they had never witnessed symbolized the divine presence. Through manifestations addressed to their senses, they were to obtain a knowledge of God. They must be taught that the Most High, and not merely the man Moses, was their leader, that they might fear his name and obey his voice. At nightfall, the camp was surrounded by vast flocks of quails, enough to supply the entire company. In the morning there lay upon the surface of the ground a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost. It was like coriander seed, white. The people called it manna. Moses said, "This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat." The people gathered the manna, and found that there was an abundant supply for all. They ground it in mills, or beat it in a mortar, and baked it in pans, and made cakes of it. Numbers 11:8. And the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. They were directed to gather daily an omer for every person, and they were not to leave of it until the morning. Some attempted to keep a supply until the next day, but it was then found to be unfit for food. The provision for the day must be gathered in the morning, for all that remained upon the ground was melted by the sun. In the gathering of the manna, it was found that some obtained more and some less than the stipulated amount. But when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. An explanation of this scripture, as well as a practical lesson from it, is given by the Apostle Paul in his second epistle to the Corinthians. He says, "I mean not that other men be eased and ye burdened, but by an equality, that now at this time your abundance may be a supply for their want, that their abundance also may be a supply for your want, that there may be equality. As it is written, he that had gathered much had nothing over, and he that had gathered little had no lack." 2 Corinthians 8 verses 13 to 15. On the sixth day, the people gathered 2 omers for every person. The rulers hastened to acquaint Moses with what had been done. His answer was, "This is that which the Lord hath said, Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which ye will bake today, and see that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until morning." They did so, and found that it remained unchanged. And Moses said, "Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto the Lord. Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none." God requires that his holy day be as sacredly observed now as in the time of Israel. The command given to the Hebrews should be regarded by all Christians as an injunction from Jehovah to them. The day before the Sabbath should be made a day of preparation, that everything may be in readiness for its sacred hours. In no case should our own business be allowed to encroach upon holy time. God has directed that the sick and suffering be cared for. The labor required to make them comfortable is a work of mercy and no violation of the Sabbath, but all unnecessary work should be avoided. Many carelessly put off till the beginning of the Sabbath little things that might have been done on the day of preparation. This should not be. Work that is neglected until the beginning of the Sabbath should remain undone until it is past. This course might help the memory of these thoughtless ones and make them careful to do their own work on the 6 working days. Every week during their long sojourn in the wilderness, the Israelites witnessed a threefold miracle designed to impress their minds with the sacredness of the Sabbath. A double quantity of manna fell on the 6th day, none on the 7th, and the portion needed for the Sabbath was preserved sweet and pure, when if any were kept over at any other time it became unfit for use. In the circumstances connected with the giving of the manna, we have conclusive evidence that the Sabbath was not instituted, as many claim, when the law was given at Sinai. Before the Israelites came to Sinai, they understood the Sabbath to be obligatory upon them. In being obliged to gather every Friday a double portion of manna in preparation for the Sabbath, when none would fall, the sacred nature of the day of rest was continually impressed upon them. And when some of the people went out on the Sabbath to gather manna, the Lord asked, "How long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws?" The children of Israel did eat manna 40 years, until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna, until they came unto the borders of the land of Canaan. For 40 years they were daily reminded by this miraculous provision of God's unfailing care and tender love. In the words of the psalmist, God gave them of the corn of heaven. Man did eat angels' food, Psalm 78 verses 24 and 25. That is, food provided for them by the angels, sustained by the corn of heaven. They were daily taught that, having God's promise, they were as secure from want as if surrounded by fields of waving grain on the fertile plains of Canaan. The manna, falling from heaven for the sustenance of Israel, was a type of him who came from God to give life to the world. Said Jesus, "I'm that bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness, and are dead. This is the bread which cometh down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever." And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. John 6, verses 48 to 51. And among the promises of blessing to God's people in the future life, it is written, "To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the hidden manna." Revelation 2, verse 17.
After leaving the wilderness of sin, the Israelites encamped in Rephidim. Here there was no water, and again they distrusted the providence of God. In their blindness and presumption, the people came to Moses with the demand, "Give us water that we may drink." But his patience failed not. "Why chide you with me?" he said. "Wherefore do you tempt the Lord?" They cried in anger, "Wherefore is this, that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt, to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst?" When they had been so abundantly supplied with food, they remembered with shame their unbelief and murmurings, and promised to trust the Lord in the future. But they soon forgot their promise, and failed at the first trial of their faith. The pillar of cloud that was leading them seemed to veil a fearful mystery. And Moses, who was he? They questioned, and what could be his object in bringing them from Egypt? Suspicion and distrust filled their hearts, and they boldly accused him of designing to kill them and their children by privations and hardships that he might enrich himself with their possessions. In the tumult of rage and indignation, they were about to stone him. In distress, Moses cried to the Lord, "What shall I do unto this people?" He was directed to take the elders of Israel and the rod wherewith he had wrought wonders in Egypt, and to go on before the people. And the Lord said unto him, "Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink." He obeyed, and the waters burst forth in a living stream that abundantly supplied the encampment. Instead of commanding Moses to lift up his rod and call down some terrible plague, like those on Egypt, upon the leaders in this wicked murmuring, the Lord in his great mercy made the rod his instrument to work their deliverance. He clave the rocks in the wilderness, and gave them drink as out of the great depths. He brought streams also out of the rock, and caused waters to run down like rivers. Psalm 78, verses 15 and 16. Moses smote the rock, but it was the Son of God who, veiled in the cloudy pillar, stood beside Moses, and caused the life-giving water to flow. Not only Moses and the elders, but all the congregation who stood at a distance, beheld the glory of the Lord. But had the cloud been removed, they would have been slain by the terrible brightness of him who abode therein. In their thirst the people had tempted God, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not? If God has brought us here, why does he not give us water as well as bread?" The unbelief thus manifested was criminal, and Moses feared that the judgments of God would rest upon them. And he called the name of the place Massah, temptation, and Meribah, chiding, as a memorial of their sin. End quote.